Fantasy readers,
fantasy reviewers,
fantasy countrymen,
lend us your ears,
your fantasy pointy ears.
And a huge thank you to all of our Patreons.
Thank you to the Pit Fighters, the First Swords, and all of the Bright Stars, Truth and Courage.
Hello and welcome to the channel today. I'm Will, this is my brother Ed, and today we're going to be talking about our fantasy TBR. The TBR piles high, hence why it's called a pile.
Yeah.
Here we're limiting it to just 10 fantasy books that are imminently going to be read. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we will get to them. Some are certain, some are maybes, and...
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
My TBR, it's not a pile. It's not even a mountain. It's a mountain range. It's the Himalayas stretching out far and wide, far and high. And how can I climb it? By reading all of them.
Every single one.
Every book ever been written.
I think denial.
Yes.
Build more mountain ranges.
The thing is, in my mountain range, in my head, there's a lot of sand that I can bury my head in, which I like.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. But anyway, we're here to combat a bit of the pile today. We've got 10, I think 4
We
are
don't
the
have
same.
piles anymore.
We don't want
it's
any more.
Painful.
But we've got 4 books that are the same,
never eat
and then
grapes
3
again.
different each. So we've got 10 in total. And so, Ed, I think, enough with the grape jokes.
Yes.
Let's get into it. Let's talk about your first book. That is actually one that I want to read as well, but I guess I'll let you pick it up.
Shall we?
Go on, pick it up.
The first one for both of us has to be The Devils
Not
by
the
Joe
Angels.
Abercrombie. No, that's book 2.
Not the Purgatory.
Now, Will and I are probably Joe's biggest fans, I'd say.
I know what's coming.
We're as tall as the mountain from Game of Thrones. I'm probably bigger sideways, aren't I, than you?
No.
Yeah, you don't go to the gym as much.
Ah, okay.
But The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, we follow the character called Brother Diaz, and he is called back to the sacred city where he has then put onto a mission that he must complete. And he's tasked to bring together a group of people, we'd say.
Yeah.
Some aren't people, but as far as I'm aware,
Individuals.
anyway. But I'm very excited to read The Devils. I've seen some amazing reviews from Petrick, from Michael Kist, from many other people that we love and trust. And I am very excited to dive into The Devils.
Yeah, The Devils, of course I was looking forward to it. It's Joe Abercrombie, but my expectations have been raised since I watched the Collectible Bookful interview.
Yes, of
Absolutely
course.
brilliant. Go check out that interview if you haven't already. It is genius. And we're very lucky to have an early arc of The Devils. Cannot wait to read it before it comes out in May.
Obviously, our love of the first law is, kind of what keeps us going.
We're going to have
Isn't
to
it?
separate it though.
We
Ed.
have to separate.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's hard. I might
hard.
get separation anxiety, but we're going to try our best.
We'll try our best.
But I'm sure I'm going to love it. Lots of people say this reminds them of the style of Best Served Cold, which, although it's probably my least favourite of the standalones, it's a Joe book, so it's still quality.
Nice.
And I'm excited. And there's weird, I think, vampires and werewolves in this. So
Weird ones. So not just vampires and werewolves, weird
it's
ones.
Abercrombie, of course they're going to be weird.
Of course they'll be strange.
Weird and lovable. Maybe.
First up for me, well, you're talking about it as well, but first book I'm picking up is another
Me. It's all I hear.
Titan author of the fantasy genre.
Yeah.
It is Deadhouse Gates by Stephen Erikson, book 2 of the Malazan, Book of the Fallen. I'm not sure if by this time our review of Gardens of the Moon will be out. I believe it will be. Go check that out. If it is, we went into deep thoughts there. Mostly spoiler free and then some spoilers as well.
It was fun. It was a fun.
It was
fun
really,
video.
really fun. And I feel like whilst both of us didn't give Gardens of the Moon straight up 5 stars, it was pretty close.
Yeah.
And it felt like there's so much potential there. And I'm hoping that is realised in Deadhouse Gates.
Yes. I've actually read Deadhouse Gates previously, but I was not in the frame of mind to really...
Now I'm
get
here
to
to help you. And
You're
can help me.
macheting the path. I think
We can support each other.
It's great to read it along with people, but also I think what you put into the series, you get out of it. And I think that's my new motto from now on.
Nice.
But what when you're reading Malazan, really dive in, really immerse yourself in the world, in the cultures that Stephen Erikson writes about, because it is remarkable, and it's remarkable that someone's brain has actually come up with all of this. So I'm very excited to read Deadhouse Gates. probably in April. It will
March for me, April for you.
So yeah, because usually you start late. That's
I
quite
know, but I'm
impressive.
starting early. It's going to be when I finish uni for the term.
Absolutely love it. But I'm excited, very excited for Deadhouse.
And look at this cover by the Broken Binding.
It's a beauty.
Absolutely stunning. If I don't want to read it before, I want to read it when this arrives.
Yeah.
Firing straight back at you, Ed.
Now, one that Will actually can't mention because he doesn't want to read this is book 2 of the Live Ship trilogy, and it is called The Mad Ship.
Shall I just leave 5 minutes and then come back?
Well, I love the series so much. Probably 10, actually.
Oh.
Probably 10. I'll waffle a bit.
Right.
So, I love The Ship of Magic. It was a fantastic book that obviously has Robin Hobb's staples of character-driven fantasy arcs that has little snippets of fantasy in there, but the main bulk of the story, the figurehead of the ship, we'll say, is those character relationships, how they interact with each other, their love, their hatred, their motivations, and it's played out brilliantly. I'm very excited for book 2. I think everyone and their dog and their dog's best friend, not a cat though, has read Live Ships and they've loved it, and usually it's their favourite of Robin Hobb's works, which is funny because it wasn't the case when, as I heard, when these were actually released, that people were calling for more fits, because obviously this is the second trilogy.
But over time, it is interesting how opinion changes.
Exactly.
It's like I think I heard when Gardens of the Moon came out.
Time is a flat circle.
Overwhelming. Nice. Gardens of the Moon, I don't think it was overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
But then the longer it's gone on, even those who don't like it respect it.
It's great that these books then find they become like cult classics, and then they find like a really wide readership.
Yeah.
You know, that's what happens. That's what happens with books. But it's great to see that these books that maybe didn't have a really hot reception when they were released in the 90s, that over time their readership has grown.
They didn't burn
Love
with the
that.
flames.
Absolutely not. It's all about water, well, at the end of the day.
And ice. Ice and water.
Yeah.
It's ice blue as well. Nice. Next up for me is another one that we're both talking about in this video, Ed. Is Blood Over Bright Haven. So this is a standalone, Dark Academia, recommended to us by Chris and Mads and a whole host of others.
Yeah.
So we have a young woman who she succeeds in getting into a very esteemed academic school. I'm not sure if it's magical or there's something more at play. It is fantasy.
fantastical.
But she's the first woman to succeed in getting in this school. I don't know if the rules change or... I'm not really sure. But I know that this causes kind of an unfolding of scandals, of hidden mysteries, and there's a philosophical element going on, or elements in Blood Over Bright Haven that is very poignant and powerful, apparently, in a way that isn't pretentious. It isn't forcing you to think something. It is just there and thought-provoking. And I love when fantasy isn't dominated by philosophy, but it has a philosophical lining that can really teach you something about life itself.
Lovely. Now, I haven't really heard much about this book. I haven't really watched many reviews. All I know and all I can say is that M.L. Wang wrote Sword of Kaigen. And when you love a book that much, you know, I'm going to trust her. I'm going to go into her next book blind and happy about it.
Very true.
Usually I have to really read about a book, really, you know, try and become invested before I jump into it, just to really see if I'm going to vibe with it. But I just know that I loved her writing so much. It's not even a question if I'm going to read this or not.
And you can check out our review of Sword of Kaigen on the channel. And if you want to
link
see
it up there.
my severe book hangover, you can see the little skit we did at the beginning.
That was fun.
That was fun to do.
Yeah.
But back to you, Ed.
Back to me in the studio.
Back to you.
Now, in the studio, I'm going to be talking about Homeland, which is book 1 of The Legend of Drizzt.
Nice.
The guy looks insane, and insane in a cool way. He has a wicked panther. He's wicked smart. And I'm very excited. Now, we've recently been playing some more D&D. Recently loved Baldur's Gate 3. That rhymed. And I really want to read more books that are high fantasy. And Homeland by R.A. Salvatore is a cult classic. And I think this is like the original story of a Dungeons and Dragons hero, which is Drizzt is widely regarded as one of the greatest heroes of D&D style fantasy. So I'm really excited to read this. Yeah, that's all I can say really. I mean, he looks cool. The panther's great. Love an animal companion, and I really want to read more high fantasy this year, and I wonder what the tone is. I don't know, is it a gritty tone? Is it grimdark? Some people hate that term, but you know, it's still a term. We still understand what it means. And or is it, you know, is it has it got a completely different tone? Is it tongue-in-cheek? Is it light-hearted? We will see. I'll find out, and I'm very excited.
Very nice said, and it's one that I do need to pick up, but not quite yet.
I must pick it up, but maybe in 17 years.
Yeah, something like that. So many books, so little time.
It's true.
But better too many than too few.
Yeah.
Next up, I've got Empire of the Damned, a book I'll definitely...
Damn!
Nice. Your book of the year so far, Ed, isn't it? And you have predicted it will be your book of 2025.
I don't know how anything can top this. It was just incredible. All of the arcs, all of the dialogue, the ending, truly the pinnacle of fantasy.
Wow.
In my opinion.
I cannot wait to read it.
Yeah. And book 3 comes out this year.
No, there are some bold decisions I know that are made in here, such as multiple POV.
Yes.
But apparently they really, really pay off. And I adored Empire the Vampire. I left reading this to be closer to the release of book 3, and that is coming. So I need to read book 2. We've got a review of Empire the Vampire on the channel. It feels iconic. It feels unique. You've got Day's death. You've got the emergence of the vampires during daylight.
Yeah.
And so much more. The Silver Saints, so many unique parts of this story. And Gabrielle de Leon, not always someone who you love, but someone who you love to follow.
It's interesting you say Gabrielle. I say Gabriel.
Maybe I'm just trying to be like put a French inflection like terribly wrong.
Like Robert Pattinson.
You know, like someone who is not linguistic at all, and they try and force it. That's me. Exhibit A. Yeah. Exhibit A. So that's Empire of the Damned.
Sticking with Kristoff, I am buzzing to have this trilogy.
We didn't even plan
Nevernight.
that. That just happened organically.
Organically, it's just what happens on the channel. We're very fluid. Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. This trilogy was sent to me by the awesome Elise, who's a complete legend.
Awesome.
So everyone, go to the comments and say, Elise, what a legend. Thank you very much for this trilogy. I'm very excited to read Nevernight. Now, as you guys know, I am a big fan of Kristoff's writing, especially this year, because I binged both of the Empire of the Vampire books. I have read some of his Stormbringer, I believe, Stormdancer, series, and I really enjoyed that so far. I actually need to finish that trilogy. But I'm very excited to Nevernight, because Nevernight, I think, was the book that really catapulted him to the level that he's at right now, and he's continuing that trajectory with the Vampire trilogy. I'm very excited to read this. I know it's quite a polarising book. I think it's quite controversial in terms of it's got footnotes in, some of the content matter as well.
It's a bit experimental.
Exactly, but I am very excited to see what Kristoff does, because every time I read his prose, I find myself falling into it. I find that his dialogue is just so iconic. His characters that he crafts is with a really careful eye, and that he's got character beats that you hope to see, because sometimes in books I feel like we're built up with character arcs and then it doesn't quite, the payoff isn't there. But I always feel like Kristoff has an understanding of what to reward the reader with, and that to me is a rewarding experience. So I'm excited to try more Kristoff. He's a great guy. Yeah.
There we go. Very nice, Ed. And then another one that we are both talking about, I've got A Song of Legends Lost by M.H. Ayinde. This sounds like really interesting new debut epic fantasy.
Yeah.
From what I know, and I don't know much, I think that we have a world where people can contact their ancestors.
Warriors of noble blood can summon their ancestors.
And that is what I think the cover is, and I love that. It seems to be kind of metaphorical, the weight of the ancestors on you. But maybe
it's the story of...
I'm going to sneeze.
Oh, Will. Bless you. Oh... You're really sweet then.
Sorry about that. Anyway, so it seems like kind of, the metaphorical weight of the ancestors, as well as, I imagine, a pretty epic, fantastical, physical presence as well.
What has that sneeze done to you?
I know, what is it? It's cleared my mind.
It's the story of a commoner from the slums who accidentally invokes a powerful spirit.
I probably should have read the blurb first.
I haven't read it yet.
Oh, really? That's not what you were doing, yeah.
It's all up here.
But I'm really looking forward to reading this. We'll be reading it for release, and so we will have a review on the channel.
Orbit do the best covers in fantasy, don't they? And this book has Tasha Suri and Anthony Ryan on the back.
Well, what could you ask for?
Immediately trust it. So, thank you for this. Thank you, Nasia, for sending this to us.
Thank you very much.
Very excited to read it.
And also, when we have our kind of monthly releases pitched by the authors themselves, there will be a pitch for A Song of Legends Lost.
Absolutely, and I hope you watch it, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you pick it up. I think that's all from us today.
No.
I'm a fool.
It's not. I've got two more.
I have done mine.
It's because I've been talking about, the ones that we're both
Very true.
discussing. I've got the Witchfinder Chronicles by Mike Shackle. So these are novellas. They're kind of Sherlock's Holmesian detective style dark fantasy that have been released in segments. And I just love Mike Shackle's writing. The Last War, to this day, I think is just the most underappreciated fantasy series out there. It's incredible. It should be amongst the greats, in my opinion. I know big words, but I really believe it. Most people I know who have picked them up say that they adore this series. Watch Talking Stories video on 5 reasons to read The Last War.
Yeah.
And then listen to those 5 reasons and pick them up. Ed, aren't they great?
They're awesome. It's a great series. Talking Story, also, both of them are fantastic. I love listening to them talk about books because they're just full of so much passion, and it always excites me to read something. But go check out that video. I'll link it up there. Can we do that?
Yeah, we can do that.
Wicked. I'll do it. I'll link it. Go watch it. But The Last War is something that has to be heralded as one of the great modern fantasy trilogies. I mean, it is very dark. It's very focused on action, but it's the story of these characters that have zero hope that I find so charming. And watching them try and prevail against, an unequal darkness is just incredible.
Yeah, and it's fast-paced, done right, where it doesn't lose the heart. It's fast-paced, but it maintains the
I've
tension.
never read such big books so quickly. They do remind me of the pace of The Faith and the Fallen, the later books.
Yeah, it's like even if people who love Brandon Sanderson, I've heard they say they can't really binge it. But people like Papa Gwyn, they can. I would say Mike Shackle falls in that category. Yeah. But then, talking about an author I introduced to you, now the other way round. An author you're going to be introducing to me, Ed.
Make
because
sure
the
you say
last
hello.
book I'm talking about today is A Sword of Bronze and Ashes by Anna Smith Spark. I've had the pleasure of meeting her, as have you. Lovely, lovely.
She has the coolest shoe collection.
She does. She really does.
Yeah.
And so interesting to listen talk about books and her writing as well. And so it's about time that I read one of her books. And I think the thing that, obviously, Ed, you have made sure that I've got her books on my radar. But the thing that's pushed me over the edge is Philip Chase's recent review.
So,
I'm not saying you weren't good enough.
The words that you have spoken, all I hear is, Ed, I trust Philip Chase over you.
It's Philip Chase.
Will, I'll be honest, I trust him over myself.
It's Philip Chase.
I would listen to Philip. Do not listen to me.
I trusted you, but there's so many books you recommend me. They're all in the radar, and then Philip Chase is just, giving a little nudge.
I have seen a couple of books going in one ear, and then they just appear out the other.
Wow, that's why there's a pile over there.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is the last book I'm talking about today. That is 10 fantasy books on the TBR pile. So 4 that we're both going to read, 3 from Ed, 3 from me, hopefully a nice mix. Hopefully we actually get to them. And we'll probably have reviews for most of them on the channel. We do want more reviews going forward. Please let us know anything else you'd like to see.
As a BookTube channel, we don't do that many reviews.
That's it. It's hard because we only want to do books that we've both read.
Yeah.
And especially with selfish me going to uni, reading's harder.
His words, not mine.
It's true. I've owned up to it.
Yeah.
I'm selfish. I'm very selfish.
We love fantasy.
We're not reading the same books.
Please let us know in the comments below what fantasy books you're looking forward to reading this year. Any new releases that we should be talking about that we are not, because we are fools of a took. Who knows? Let us know. Hope to speak to you there. Truth and courage.
The Brothers Gwyn.